Eala. Um, maraming salamat sa suporta. Sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa akin. Kamusta mga kapong Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko sa Mubadala Abu Dhabi.
Surprise. Excited. And now, the tennis world is holding its breath. What began as a tense first-round match at the Qatar Total Energies Open has spiraled into one of the most controversial and closely watched integrity cases in recent women's tennis history. And right at the center of it all stands a young Filipino star, Alex Eala, whose composure, resilience, and quiet determination have turned her into the focal point of a story far bigger than a single match. Welcome back to Tennis Pulp, where today's episode dives deep into the controversy that shook Doha, the allegations that followed, and the potential consequences that could reshape careers and redefine integrity standards across the sport. Reports claim that Joan Bosch, the longtime coach of Alex Eala, formally filed a complaint with the WTA Integrity Unit requesting an urgent investigation following what many described as a deeply controversial encounter against Czech teenager Teresa Valentova. The aftermath of that match at the Khalifa International Tennis Complex was immediate and intense. Whispers of unfair play and potential misconduct spread rapidly across the tennis world, amplified by passionate supporters who insisted that something had gone terribly wrong. Within hours, what initially appeared to be just another disputed moment on court transformed into a full-blown scandal, placing both players and tournament officials under an unforgiving spotlight. This was not simply about a questionable line call or a heated exchange at the net. It was about the integrity of competition itself. Discussions exploded across social media platforms, fan forums, and sports talk shows, with fans demanding transparency, accountability, and clear answers. As details continued to emerge from Doha, the incident quickly became one of the most talked-about controversies in recent women's tennis, leaving supporters stunned and eager to understand what truly unfolded behind the scenes. Then came the headline that many feared would eventually surface. According to multiple reports, the Qatar Open Tournament Committee, working in cooperation with WTA integrity officers, issued an official statement declaring that Teresa Valentova had been retroactively disqualified from the 2026 Qatar Total Energies Open and provisionally suspended from all WTA-sanctioned activities pending a full disciplinary hearing. The action, they said, stemmed from verified allegations of cheating, integrity violations, and unauthorized real-time external assistance during her round of 64 match against Alex Eala. With that announcement, the verdict appeared to be delivered, and the consequences set in motion, sending shockwaves through the entire tennis community. What began as suspicion surrounding a single match in Doha had now evolved into a full-scale controversy with serious implications for everyone involved. Attention immediately shifted to what exactly had happened on court, what the investigation uncovered, and how the official findings framed the violations. The ruling not only cast uncertainty over Valentova's immediate future and reputation, but also raised significant questions about competitive integrity and enforcement standards within the sport. For Alex Eala, the outcome could reshape the narrative around that match and potentially influence her path forward. As the tennis world processed the fallout, the scandal stood as a stark reminder of how quickly moments on court can transform into defining chapters in athletic careers. For those just joining the story, the build-up to this controversy traces back to tournament week in Doha. The Qatar Total Energies Open is far from an ordinary stop on the WTA Tour. It is a prestigious WTA 1000 event, one of the crown jewels of the women's tennis calendar. Hosted annually at the Khalifa International Tennis Complex, it consistently attracts the biggest names in the sport and carries enormous competitive and ranking weight. When controversy erupts on such a stage, it does not fade quietly. It becomes part of tennis history. Coming into the tournament, Alex Eala had much to prove. The 20-year-old Filipino standout had been steadily carving out her place on tour, developing her game with discipline, patience, and quiet confidence. A graduate of the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, she had built a reputation as one of the most technically polished young players in women's tennis. Her explosive serve, crisp backhand, and mature on-court composure drew praise from analysts and fans alike. Supporters from the Philippines, among the most passionate in global tennis, followed her every step, eager to see her make a statement on one of the sport's grandest stages. On paper, her opening round matchup looked competitive but manageable. Across the net stood fellow 20-year-old Teresa Valentova of the Czech Republic, a talented prospect and former junior champion with a rapidly rising profile. It had all the ingredients of a thrilling clash between two emerging stars. Instead, it became the flashpoint for what many now describe as one of the most serious integrity controversies the WTA has faced in years. From the opening rally, the match delivered intensity. Alex Eala dictated play from the baseline, using her heavy topspin forehand to push Valentova deep behind the court and control tempo. Valentova responded with flat, penetrating ground strokes, attempting to rush Eala and deny her rhythm. Game for game, point for point, the contest lived up to expectations. The first set surged toward a tiebreak at 6-all, with the atmosphere inside the stadium electric. But during that tiebreak, something began to feel off. Ella continued deploying the same patterns that had worked throughout the set, varying her serve placement, adjusting rally sequences, and mixing in approach shots. Yet Valentova appeared to anticipate these changes almost instantly. Serves that were carefully disguised were met with confident returns. Tactical shifts were countered without hesitation. To some observers, it felt as if Valentova possessed advanced insight into Eala's game plan. The tiebreak ultimately swung in Valentova's favor, stunning portions of the crowd and silencing Eala's vocal supporters. Inside the stadium, officials and integrity personnel reportedly took careful note. What looked like a momentum swing to casual viewers raised quiet questions behind the scenes. The second set saw Eala's game unravel as the psychological toll of the lost tiebreak took effect. Valentova surged ahead, closing the match 6-1. On paper, it resembled a sudden collapse. Online, critics questioned Eala's stamina, her composure, and her ability to handle pressure. Those narratives spread quickly, even as her camp began scrutinizing the match more closely. Within hours, according to reports, Ella's team formally submitted concerns to tournament officials. They reviewed match footage, analyzed play patterns, and examined statistical anomalies. Central to their complaint were irregular patterns, in Valentova's anticipation, particularly on serve placement and tactical shifts. They also flagged the timing of certain moments during changeovers and key points, suggesting these warranted further review. These concerns were deemed serious enough to prompt an official investigation by the WTA Integrity Unit. What followed was described as a comprehensive and methodical review. Investigators reportedly examined detailed match statistics, on-court audio, surveillance footage of player areas, and other relevant materials. The scope of the inquiry reflected the gravity of the allegations. Central to the claims was the possibility of unauthorized real-time data access during the match, an accusation that, if substantiated, would represent a profound breach of competitive integrity. The allegations went far beyond routine coaching gestures. While limited on-court coaching from the stands is now permitted under WTA rules, the inquiry reportedly explored whether Valentova had access to live predictive analytics about Eala's serve tendencies and tactical patterns. Such real-time information would provide an unfair advantage no amount of legitimate preparation could replicate. Tennis at the professional level depends on disguise, uncertainty, and split-second decision-making. Any unauthorized flow of tactical data would undermine the very foundation of fair competition. Observers also noted equipment-related behaviors during the match that reportedly drew scrutiny. Investigators examined the timing of wristband adjustments, racket dampener movements, and other seemingly routine actions during critical points. While such gestures are common and often meaningless, layered analysis can sometimes reveal patterns warranting closer attention. Importantly, patterns alone do not constitute proof, but they form part of a broader investigative mosaic. When the tournament committee's statement emerged, its tone was firm. It indicated that following comprehensive review, serious violations of the code of conduct had been identified. The language emphasized the gravity of the findings, citing unauthorized external assistance and unsportsmanlike conduct that compromised competitive fairness. The committee announced Valentova's retroactive disqualification from the event and imposed a provisional suspension pending a full disciplinary hearing. Such measures represent some of the most serious interim actions available in professional tennis. The statement concluded by reaffirming the tournament's commitment to integrity, fairness, and respect, underscoring that competitive trust remains central to its values. Attention immediately turned to Alex Eala, the player most directly affected. Throughout her young career, Ella has competed under intense scrutiny. Every ranking move is dissected, every loss magnified, and every victory measured against soaring expectations. As one of the Philippines' brightest sporting figures, she carries not only personal ambition but also national pride. After the match, Eala handled her press conference with remarkable composure. She avoided public accusations, instead offering a balanced assessment of her performance. Behind the scenes, however, her team pursued formal channels to ensure concerns were addressed properly. As the disciplinary process unfolds, potential adjustments regarding rankings, prize money, and records depend on final rulings. What matters most to many observers is transparency and due process, preserving trust in the sport. In the days following the announcement, support for Eala surged. Filipino fans flooded social platforms with messages of encouragement. Analysts who had initially criticized her performance revisited their assessments. Commentators emphasized that if the findings stand, the implications reach far beyond one match, touching the credibility of elite competition itself. Valentova's camp, by contrast, remained largely silent, a common stance during ongoing legal proceedings. Beyond the immediate case, broader questions have emerged about how modern performance analytics are regulated. Advanced statistical tracking has become integral to tennis preparation, enhancing strategic depth. But if accessed improperly during live play, it threatens competitive balance. This situation has sparked institutional conversations within the WTA about safeguarding fairness in a data-driven era. Allegations of real-time technological assistance represent a new frontier of integrity challenges, requiring updated oversight and enforcement mechanisms. As the tennis world waits for formal hearings and definitive outcomes, one thing is clear. This case could influence not only the careers involved, but also how professional tennis defines and defends integrity in the II years ahead. And through it all, Alex Eala remains poised, resilient, and focused on the journey ahead. After a remarkable year last season, she recently reflected on making her main draw debut in Melbourne, saying simply, "It feels great, I'm super excited." Those words, filled with optimism and quiet determination, capture the spirit of a player whose story is still being written. This is not just about controversy. It is about resilience, fairness, and the future of a young athlete navigating the highest levels of professional sport. Stay with Tennis Pulp, because the final chapter of this story may prove to be the most impactful of all.
Alex, after a terrific year last year, how does it feel to be making your main draw debut in Melbourne?
It feels great. I'm super excited. Coming in. Kamusta mga kapong Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko sa Mubadala Abu